That is so creepy.
It's very creepy. John is not in charge of merch anymore.
The Bank of England base rate currently today on 5th of November is at 5%. Most of the traditional high street banks haven't been passing on that interest rate. Across the UK, SMEs are missing out on £9 billion a year on interest currently being withheld from them.
Adsum have a beta testing opportunity coming up on the 15th of November.
Modulr have released is effortless batch management.
FreeAgent is saying goodbye to snail mail by speeding up your payroll administration with paperless HMRC notices.
Is it time for the MTD gong to be hit again?
Check has made significant enhancements to their platform.
Something that we've not really talked about much before, which is Acumatica.
Tide has made another acquisition of a SME payroll solution on Folk.
People just ask weird things on LinkedIn, don't they?
Now they're ginger walruses.
There's ginger everything.
Ginger nuts.
We're men of science, so here's a science stat. The Antarctic walrus is a rather large dolphin. That's my fact for today. We need a little jingle for that.
I'm not sure how we got to this point in our podcast, but anyway.
We don't just have to look anymore at the big boys and hope that they're going to give us something exciting, because actually the space is getting very exciting with just the smaller boys playing in.
Yeah. Who do you think might do a really good release in 24-25?
Everyone's hyped about AI. I have seen one bit of AI in practice management that makes me go, actually, that adds value. I would argue FreeAgent's recent release of bank authorizations in bulk, that's got to be release of the year, right?
As long as we do go with faster stripes on the side and not one down the middle.
No, I've got just a line of hair. It's the opposite.
You've got a seam.
I've got a seam that runs all the way down the middle. At the bottom, I've got a tattoo of a zip. India stopped recording.
Oh my god. It was that bombshell. It was that zip bombshell that did it. She's just like been fried. Welcome to another episode of the Digitals and a Cruel World podcast, brought to you, of course, by the Digital Disruptors. And of course, we will have the usual news updates, interviews, and nonsense that you get to you're so accustomed to receiving nowadays. And of course, I'm joined by Ryan and Indy. So Indy, how's things? How's bath time? Is it due soon?
I actually bought a new bath bubble. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, it has
a bath gel. That sounds like something you wash the bath with.
I don't know what it's called. Just something you put in the bath. Anyway, it has ashwagandha in it.
I've no idea what that is.
Right, I thought you would.
Is that a politician?
No.
Oh.
You're so rude.
I don't know. It sounded like a name to me.
Ashwagandha. I don't know, actually. I don't quite know what it actually is. It's obviously some sort of like plant-based thing. But I only know that it's like that you can have it as a supplement, or you usually have it like in some sort of orally taken substance.
So now you're drinking your own bathwater. Is that what you're saying?
No, I am not. No, but I was quite curious about what it meant, because it's really super relaxing. And I have to admit, yeah, I wanted to fall asleep
chill.
in there. It was great. I was chill.
Isn't it dangerous to sleep in the bath?
I sleep in the bath. Not all
Not
the time,
actually.
but like I do fall asleep in the bath sometimes.
Not our choice. It's been chucked out. He's sleeping in the bath.
I sleep in the bath with water in. Let's not. I don't sleep in the bath out of choice.
But you
in
drown.
terms of like I take a pillow and a blanket with me. No, like it's just a thing. Like you don't slip under the water, and if you do slip under the water, surprising enough, there's like a thing called life that your body wants to hold on to.
I don't think I've ever thought about falling asleep in the bath and actually falling asleep. I've never met anyone that's done that.
You can get like inflatable bath pillows and everything.
Why don't you just go to bed, John?
Yeah.
Because like if you have a bath at like sort of 8 o'clock at night for a couple of hours and you don't want to go to bed, then it's cool.
A couple of hours.
This is Indy. This is like your running the bath water to then let it go cold so you get a cold shower. John starts hot, but by the time it's freezing.
Oh no, I recycle the bath water. If it starts to go cold, you just top it up.
I thought you meant you use it every night.
Yeah. I can't afford the water bill, so I just keep doing it. Yeah, it's like
nice.
Those things you see on Instagram where they put those like really hot metal balls in like liquids. That's what I do with the bath basically every night. Yeah.
Wow. That is really good for your carbon footprint. Well done, John.
Well done, John.
Thank you. I did think, given that we did get a comment from someone who was quite interested in your bath activities, Indy. I once went to somewhere in Australia where there was a site which was very, very precious or sort of sacred to the local Aboriginal population, and they used to give away little vials of water. I wonder if we should do that after every time you have a bath, and we could sort of like have, Digitools bath water for you, Indy, put in little vials, and we could, that could be like our swag that we give away.
That is so creepy.
It's very creepy. I think John is. Let's take John off merch. John is not in charge of merch anymore.
I think John is just trying to find a way to recycle my bath water.
He's that desperate
God,
to not run his own bath. He is now collecting bath water from other people.
Small vials of bath water. This should be shipped to John Toon.
I mean, to be fair, like I guess in the good old days, right? People didn't used to keep rerunning the bath, and the whole family would be in the tub outside in the back garden. So it's just a collective bath time opportunity for the co-presenters of the pod.
The good old days. Yeah. When was this? Was this like last week up in the north? When was this?
Yeah. Actually, we're coming up to winter, so that bath time's died off now. So like that's
We don't wash over winter. It's only a summer thing.
When we were young, we didn't have as much money back then. But we did used to recycle the bath water, not by letting everyone else go in it, but instead we would then put things like, let's say like a duvet. It was like something that's complex to wash. And then you would then put it in like the very thick blanket, and you'd whack a load of like the washing powder in there. And so after we'd have a bath, then we would just run up and down the whatever it would be, the thick blanket, the duvet, the something, and then that would get the wash that way as well.
So did you wee in the bath?
No, of course not. Gosh, we had a mum that was super strict. Can you imagine doing that? You didn't want to get a bruised bottom afterwards. No.
It's good for your skin. And if you're going to wash things in it, you might as well do that as well.
What's good for your skin?
Urea.
Oh. John, I'm now learning that you not only recycle your bath water, but you pee in it as well.
I didn't say I peed in it. I just asked you if you peed in it.
I'm not going to
just to clarify this, John is asking if you pee in your bathwater because he wants vials of it.
Oh, that's what you understood. I didn't understand that. It's like I'm quite curious as to what you're asking for here, John. Are you asking for bath water that has urea in so that we can help you with your skin, or are you asking that? I've lost track.
I think it's safe to move on with app news now.
Well, I mean, I really just wondering, and if you're going to clean things in the bath afterwards, I mean, it's quite good for cleaning things with. After all, it was used for tanning.
Maybe that's where I've been going wrong. I've been trying to tan in the sun.
My melanin is natural, so I don't.
Indy gets other people to pee in the bath before she goes in.
There's something wrong with you. Let's go to app news.
It's very wrong.
Anyway, Ryan, how are you? Before we go on to app news.
I'm mentally scarred now. Straight to app news. I don't want to talk.
App news.
Yeah, app news.
Amazing. Right. I'm kicking off app news today, and we have an update from Adsum, which may or may not be familiar to people because I think they've kind of got it baked into a couple of products. I'm pretty sure they have a link to QBO, and I'm trying to think what the other thing is that they're linked to, but Tide, that's the product that are linked to. But Adsum have announced they have a beta testing opportunity coming up on the 15th of November, so a few weeks away, for their new pay-as-you-earn tracking sort of dashboard and functionality that they're building out. So Adsum have something already in place for VAT. In fact, that's kind of where they started out from, because their whole thing is that if you're a business that regularly reclaims VAT from HMRC, you can actually go through Adsum and you can get your payment almost immediately. Sometimes takes a couple of days, but you get it basically quicker than you'll get it back from HMRC. And the cost of doing that is 2%, so 2% of your refund. So we've seen these kind of pricing models for different types of refunds and things in other places, but this is sort of the first technology-driven one, I think, that for taxation at least, that we've seen. And like I say, they have these dashboards that are available for practices to use, so you could see all of your clients, see all of the outstanding payments, and they're rolling this out into pay-as-you-earn now, which I can tell you now is quite a challenging thing to get across, because quite often it's difficult to collect all of that information in one place. So having this in one central dashboard seems like a good idea, particularly if you're managing lots of payrolls, you might want to be able to see this, and it gives you an element of proactivity about contacting clients and customers to help them keep on top of things.
Yeah, I think the POA bit's quite promising. I think when they released the VAT tracking, they said POA was in the works, and I was like, well, that'd be quite powerful, bringing both the POA and the VAT into the same platform, allowing one login for your staff to go in and verify data for your client. So yes, this bit I'm intrigued. Once it gets through beta, I think I'm going to be having a bit of a play and see, is this something that's going to add value to our compliance teams. Right, I've got something from Modulr. I think when we were talking to Kaylee the other day on interview, she talked about Modulr, talked about what it's been doing in the space, and the fact it's been connected into multiple other platforms now. And they've continued to release features. So the recent feature they have released is effortless batch management. So if you are doing batch payments, you can now do batch approvals. So find everything in one place. All of your batches you created, locate them, filter them, and manage them across, all of your batches you created inside the system. And then if you need to, export them all in one go. This is something that I guess I would advise against. If you're using an integrated payment system, you should be connecting it directly into your bank so that you've got the full audit trail, fully locked down. As soon as you start exporting information, then it is open to manipulation. So connect it into your platforms. Do not export if you can. But the new batch approvals will make it easier if you're using Modulr.
And something from the friendliest accounting technology company, FreeAgent, is saying goodbye to snail mail by speeding up your payroll administration with paperless HMRC notices. So in order to do this, you'll need to enable electronic notifications in your HMRC business tax account. And you only need to do that once. But the advantage is, and you can go to your FreeAgent account and you can automatically receive updates on the tax codes and the notices around tax codes. So you can both update them in the FreeAgent software, and then you can approve the new changes to the tax code within your FreeAgent software. So instead of waiting for historically waiting for the post to come through and seeing a change to the tax code, you can all do that. So you can do that through electronic means and the FreeAgent platform.
Very exciting. And I have some more HMRC updates. Is it time for the MTD gong to be hit again, given that we're now talking about this, because there are two pieces of guidance. One is about the MTD for income tax program, and one is about multi-agent access to accounts, which I know is particularly tricky for accountants, bookkeepers, etc., especially if you've got some specialist tax advisor involved who needs to have access to accounts and things, because it just makes life really difficult. So the updates on the MTD for income tax things is that basically they're confirming the current timeline that has been set in stone will be fixed. There is expected to be no further slippage in that. And they also announced a couple of extra software products being added into the beta testing, which I know some firms and some practices have been signed up to. I don't think we're doing it, but it's coming. There are also some notifications and some additional information out there on the HMRC website, and for people who are logging into their personal tax accounts, going to give them notifications around the fact that MTD for income tax is coming, which I think has been probably long overdue, really, from a lot of accountants and bookkeepers' point of view, in terms of, it feels like it's us who are having to provide all of the marketing and comms on MTD rather than HMRC. So seeing that come out is a welcome addition. And then the thing about the multi-agent update is that basically this is going out to software developers to allow them the support and the functionality to build this into products. Again, this is kind of linked to the MTD for income tax program, and it's really currently in a sandbox stage. So it's not something we're going to be seeing imminently, but it will come into, I guess, probably the beta program that's being run, and then in the longer term we'll start to see this. So this is great news, for anyone involved, and effectively we'll expect to see essentially two roles. There'll be the main agent who has access to kind of pretty much everything in the agent account, and then a supporting agent who will have more limited access to, say, just being able to submit an in-year update or do something else. And I guess the really important thing about this for MTD is that you could potentially have a bookkeeper who's doing the bookkeeping and providing the quarterly updates, but you might have an accountant, for example, who does the end of year personal tax return and does that kind of final submission process. And so both people are going to have to be involved in this process, but without having that dual access, it's going to be really difficult to manage.
Good-o. And there's something from FirmCheck, who have continued to make the AML compliance piece more manageable and intuitive for their customers. So in this case, FirmCheck has made significant enhancements to their platform in recent months. And we covered FirmCheck on the last podcast when we were talking about some of the things where it pertains to onboarding and the AML compliance piece. In this case, they've unified the compliance management piece by having different pillars all brought together into the new platform. And that includes things like the ability to maintain, update firm-wide risk assessments, conduct and document client risk assessments consistently, manage policies, controls, and procedure documentation, track AML training records, and complete ongoing client reviews and updates, as well as documenting and having a clear audit trail of all those documents. So the way that they've also gone about reimagining the platform is through a more seamless user experience. There's a better UI that they put in place. And on top of that, they've taken a step into advanced workflow management. So they've got more of a visual element where you have like multiple teams or individuals that need to be involved, so that you can track things in that Kanban style, more like a one-click access to records, and also clear status tracking for compliance activities. So you can manage it from like a to-do, in progress, in review, etc. across the team. And then on top of that, they've also built out the risk management piece of the AML compliance side. So you have smart firm-wide risk assessments automatically incorporating data from individual client risk assessments to help you build and document your firm-wide view. You've also got customizable risk assessment templates, and then flexible drag and drop templates for different client types. And then on top of that, they are looking at how to enhance the integration and monitoring piece, so that they can reduce the administrative burden on pulling relevant company information from several platforms. So the platform offers free PEPs, sanctions, and adverse media checks, which is fairly unique in the industry. But then they also are looking at automated monitoring of the PEP sanctions, and they are developing the company's house monitoring capabilities, as well as they're planning to integrate into the practice management. So it's something that we spoke about on the last podcast. So I think all that to say, from FirmCheck's perspective, fairly comprehensive. The latest sort of batch of releases expands on their capability to have all of that compliance suite in the same place, clearer oversight across the firm, and just better organization of all the compliance documents, as well as more efficient team collaboration and an audit trail for all your compliance needs. So it's a really, it seems like a massive step forward in there for firm check, and also the fact that they're looking at that practice management space will take them a lot further in terms of, I guess, being able to fulfill the whole product need for accountants.
Yeah, I guess it sounds like the system had evolved over time, but everything would become a bit disjointed. So they've kind of bundled it all together with a new user interface, which has now allowed them to release one hell of a lot of new functionality. And as we had discussed and you said, connect into other platforms more easily. So yeah, that was a lot that FirmCheck have done. Well done, FirmCheck, on the release of the new platform. Right, well, I've got something from a completely different place, something that we've not really talked about much before, which is Acumatica, which is a cloud-based ERP system. Now, they focus on construction, distribution, retail, manufacturing, and they are releasing a new professional services element as well. In the new 2024 R2 release, which I guess is their big announcement, focusing mostly on the construction side, they've brought in substantiated billing enhancements. So they've restructured how their billing platform works. They've also brought in the additional project quote statuses. So tweaking what you can do, customizing those, making it easier for you to manage through the life cycle of a project. And you've got pro forma invoices in the system as well. So I don't know if you've looked at Acumatica before. The look and feel is a bit traditional, probably one of the earliest in the space. I would have thought they would have done more with the UI on their release, but all of the screenshots that they've shared with the release look very traditional. So I think it's more functionality. And the way they talk about this is that the new way that these releases operate means that they can link functions they couldn't do before. So going through from, I guess, with the substantiated billing side, with the pro forma invoicing as well, means that elements that couldn't interact now can, because of the way they've developed this in the R2 release.
As you know, I love talking about anything in this sort of banking space, in particular to do with some of the newer banks that have been making some waves. Last year, we spoke about Tide acquiring funding options, and Tide has made another acquisition of a SME payroll solution on Folk, with integrations that for accounting, pensions, and people systems. So it's quite an interesting move, because Tide has already had beyond banking services that encompasses like some levels of bookkeeping, invoicing, and so now to see them taking an application like On Folk and running it as a division of Tide, which will be Tide Payroll. It will connect to all of the other Tide products that are like the finance and admin solutions. OnFolk is an HMRC recognized payroll software, and so it generates payslips and has intuitive explanations for them. Other features include the automation of tax code notices and pension allocations, and the storage of payroll documents. So I think that there'll be a good synergy there. Tide has got roughly 650,000 UK businesses. Tend to be very small, and obviously work for, I imagine, for the way that this app has grown on Folk, that there's a really good fit. It was a Y Combinator graduate, so on Folk is something that has a good natural fit with what Tide has offered, but I've never really seen the beyond banking services that Tide offer really rolled out in anger. So it will be, I think, a very interesting way of seeing whether the neobanks customers do tend to want to stick with some of these services that are introduced. The strategy seems to be grow it through acquisition rather than trying to build it themselves. So I was aware that actually this was something that Tide had worked on, and they've got several different divisions of product managers that work on these types of services. They've obviously taken a different stance with the payroll piece, rightly so, because they need to have an expert on it. and it looks like these guys have at least got their house in order to get something that's HMRC approved and recognised. So really good synergy and great to see it.
Yeah, fascinating deal this, I think, isn't it? Because OnFolk is not a product that I was really familiar with, and but interestingly, on their LinkedIn profile, they count Comma as a customer, which is fascinating. So a bit of a link into a space that we know very well, and no details on numbers. I don't think is there in the announcement, Indy, that we can see, but it's quite a small team there, I think, isn't it?
There's not, but I would say that having understood a little bit of that world, and given that it's fairly new, i.e. that it's, Y Combinator, I think it graduated or
2021, wasn't it?
Right, okay. So I don't, and we haven't heard much of OnFolk. So my probably intuition on that would say deferred consideration is going to be a big part of the commercial structure of that. And it makes sense because Tide has already acquired a shed ton of users. So for OnFolk, and the fact that they can then monetize it more effectively, pushing those originated users through OnFolk as the product and then getting some additional revenue that way, it will be a really good synergy because then they've built the tech, and they need to then monetize the users by increasing that average value per user. So I think it's probably the won and lost in that deferred consideration piece, I reckon.
Yeah. I guess, in the context of the previous, app news that we did where we talked about, payroll site going out of business, we talked about some of the consolidations, bits and pieces happening. So, new people still coming into the market. So yeah, there's clearly differing opinions and opportunities, right?
It's quite crazy, isn't it? Payroll site took the stance of shutting things down, and they had multi-award winning software, which was voted for by their users. Makes you think, why don't they just try and sell it to a neobank?
Yeah, maybe they didn't know that would have been an option.
There you have it.
Well, there you go. That wraps our app news, doesn't it? Amazing.
It really does.
Well, I'm delighted to be joined by Sophie Hassack, who is the head of partnerships at Allica Bank. And this is a series of 4 recordings that we're going to do with Sophie, which are going to be released into the pod over a series of weeks, just covering a number of topics that Allica have spotted, a number of trends that they've identified in the marketplace, and also some key things, I guess, really just to remind accountants and bookkeepers of the importance of banking relationships and why Allica is the fastest growing bank in the UK and seems to be hitting at the top of every single table going that there is in terms of metrics. So, Sophie, I'm delighted to have you on, and really nice to have you with us. How are things?
Yeah, thank you for letting me join you. It's been really good. Things are really good. Yeah, you're right. It's been a really mad year, actually, to be honest. So we've been named the fastest growing fintech in the UK of all time ever, which is just remarkable if you think about how many fast growth fintechs there have been in the UK over the last 10 years. And we were also named the most fastest growing privately owned company this year as well. So yeah, it's been big.
It's not bad. Like I say, you're topping all of the tables, which is incredible. So really exciting. And we're going to be covering today, the importance of savings, particularly for SMEs and businesses, and this headline figure that you guys have identified that your UK businesses are missing out on about 9 billion in interest on their savings. So can we kind of dive into that? Why is it that SMEs and businesses that have money held in accounts with maybe high street banks or other competitors are not receiving a higher rate of interest? What are the factors that have an effect on this?
I think it's really important to understand the context as to why this has happened. So clearly for the last well over a decade, we've been working and operating in a really low interest environment. So businesses, accountants, bookkeepers, even consumers got out of the habit of thinking about savings because they didn't really earn any interest at all on cash sitting within their current accounts. Now, clearly over the last 2 years, that has changed and the Bank of England base rate increased significantly. And suddenly that became a really important topic. Now, what we've seen is that the vast majority of SMEs still haven't been earning any interest or much interest at all on their cash balances sitting in their current accounts. So if the Bank of England base rate currently today on 5th of November is at 5%, the next meeting is on the 7th of November, so that's the big caveat. Actually, most of the traditional high street banks haven't been increasing or passing on that interest rate to their customers. Now, what we found is that the challenger banks have been doing that, or more of them have been doing that. At Allica, our interest rates have been increasing over the last 12 months particularly, so we're currently at 4.33% in the instant access savings pot for the variable rate. So SMEs are missing out typically on at least 3%. Now that becomes really meaningful to SMEs, but also on a monthly basis as that grows and regionally. So as you said, we found that nationally, across the UK, SMEs are missing out on £9 billion a year on interest they could have been earning, but it's currently being withheld from them. So that's huge. That's a massive number. And like all big numbers, sometimes it's really hard to digest them and actually think, well, what does that mean practically? And so we at Allica look a lot at the regions. We really support SMEs throughout the UK. It's really important to us. And we're actually able to look at basically pick a town, any town in the UK, and we can find out on average approximately how much those customers are missing out on. And that becomes really important when you think about the local economy, the regional society, and the impact it can have.
So the 9 billion, I guess, for SMEs in lost interest is fairly substantial. But what does that work out at in the Manchester region, for example, and how does that approximate on a per business basis as well?
Yeah. So for Manchester in particular, for SMEs, and we're really looking at Allica at SMEs between 5 and 250 employees. That's our sweet spot as an established business. But for SMEs in Manchester, they're missing out annually on £39 million a year. So wow, that's significant, right? When you think about making decisions around employment, when you're thinking about making decisions around opening up other either product lines or channels or even offices regionally, that actually could have a significant impact on the SMEs making those decisions if they were able to earn more on their cash currently. To give some context, I also looked at Milton Keynes, and that's quite a similar number, but that's 26.5 million. So really, it's significant. On average per SME, it's over £2,300 a year that they're missing out on. And again, when you're thinking about, well, what does that number mean? What impact can they have? We talk a lot to our customers about what would they do with that benefit? How would they use that extra cash? What are they putting it towards? We've had some great examples, and one customer is using it now to pay for private medical insurance for his employees. He wasn't doing it before, but he wanted to improve his offering as an employer. He's done that. So I think that's great. Actually, one of our accountants is putting that money towards their social contribution, their annual social contribution towards the charity donations that they do. And again, I think that's fantastic. So really understanding how businesses can use that extra money and what impact that has for their business is kind of interesting, but also important for us.
Yeah, exactly, and I guess again in the context of the the budget, we saw employers' national insurance increases alongside a modest increase in the employment allowance as well. But an extra £2,300 per business is not to be sniffed at, is it? And that goes some way to offsetting some of those impacts.
Absolutely, and as an accountant in particular, looking at your client base and thinking about where can you have conversations that can instantly add interest, instantly add value. You can see the cash balance sitting there, and then you can help them say, actually, do you know you're not earning very much. There are alternatives in the market where you can put money aside, and it can have a better growth opportunity for you. That's quite a practical, but also quite a tactical conversation for accountants to be able to have. We've also seen that accountants in particular are looking at helping customers and understand putting money aside for their tax bill. So actually starting to earn money on that, set aside, that's a really good opportunity as well for them to have that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And you briefly mentioned in the intro that we're expecting the Bank of England to meet in a couple of days, and I think it's reasonably well forecast that the rates, the Bank of England rate will drop by sort of 0.25%. I guess the ability for Allica and others to pass on rates and to pass that margin on is even more important. Again, if we are going to start seeing a little bit of a haircut in terms of headline rates.
Yeah, so the Bank of England, they met at the beginning of August and they reduced the rate to 5%. And actually, Allica didn't change the rate that we passed on, so we maintained it at 4.33%. We've spent a lot of the last 18 months really campaigning and championing this idea around the saving squeeze and the impact it has on businesses, but also the opportunity it should be able to provide to them. And we've been working in partnership with the likes of the Federation of Small Businesses and the IOD as well on this. So there are a lot of organisations in collaboration thinking, actually, SMEs should be getting a better deal, which is great. So yeah, anytime the Bank of England does make a change, our rates are variable, so we have the option to change it, but we didn't earlier in the summer.
Interesting. And do you think SMEs in general are aware that that there are alternatives in the market? Not just from a business accounting point of view, but even that that there are accounts that pay higher rates of interest. I mean, we started to see all sort of these kind of pooled accounts where you could put money aside and that would be invested in accounts that would pay higher rates, and that's particularly popular in the charitable sector. But I don't think there's much awareness in the SME space around that kind of concept in general, or the fact that people like yourselves are offering genuinely considerably higher rates essentially.
Yeah, I don't think there is, and there are few reasons for that, right? One is, in the main, customers aren't used to talking to their banks. So they're actually no longer used to having a dialogue that's two-way. So they're not really aware of what else is happening in the market necessarily. Most people don't wake up every day thinking about their bank account. Most people. We in the bank do, but the vast majority of SMEs don't wake up every morning and think, gosh, what's my bank account doing for me? And that's the role that the accountant can play on a monthly or quarterly basis, particularly looking at building it into the reviews that they're having, to make sure that people are aware that there are opportunities to be better rewarded. That's the first thing, understanding. But the second thing is it feels like a complicated thing, right? It feels like a piece of admin that's just going to take time, that's going to be frustrating. And so most people will put it in the too hard basket, and it will just be deprioritized on that to-do list. But actually, a lot of particularly the challenger banks, it's a much quicker process to be onboarded. It's a much quicker process to be, experienced and to have an account set up. So it isn't in the main for lots of banks, including us, a struggle to be onboarded. It's actually a really quick process. So that's the second part of that kind of decision making about, do you know about it, and then do you do something about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great. And I mean, there's plenty of food for thought there for SMEs, but also accountants and bookkeepers advising SMEs there. If people are interested in finding out a bit more about Allica or maybe getting in contact with yourself, Sophie, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, you can come to our website. So our website has a whole lot of information about all the different products that we have and our approach to working with different types of businesses. And also we've got a particular email address directly for accountants. So if you're interested in learning more, particularly for your clients, drop us an email at accountants@allica.bank.
Perfect. And I love the fact that you teased us a little bit for one of our future episodes, which is talking about that human relationship in banking, which we'll talk about in another session shortly. But thank you very much, Sophie. That was really great. And as I said, for anyone listening to the podcast, you'll be able to hear a little bit more from Sophie and about Allica and about the things that they're trying to do differently in the marketplace.
That once was a friend called John Toon, who had an arse like a baboon. He sat on a stick. I can't say the next bit. I can't possibly say the next bit.
I think you have to say the next bit, Indy. I think that's mandatory.
I'm working on my limerick. I've got so far.
You have another line.
I feel like you're taking the mick.
Small mick.
Very small mick.
A little angry man syndrome.
Ryan, why was somebody asking about my bath routine? As I said, there's nothing more to see other than a walrus flopping into the local water pool.
I don't know. Like, people just ask weird things on LinkedIn, don't they? I just thought it was a weird comment on our latest trailer for the podcast.
It's the same. You can go onto a David Attenborough documentary and pretty much see the same. Walruses are Indian. Are they ginger walruses?
Yes. There's definitely a ginger walrus. There's ginger everything.
Ginger nuts.
Are there northern walruses?
I think all walruses are northern, aren't they? Actually, no. Surely there's some in Antarctica.
So John's the Antarctic. But it's also cold. He's quite cold-hearted as well. You're the Antarctican walrus. The
Did you
Antarctic.
say I'm cold-hearted? Wow.
Wow.
that's solid gold banter right there, Andy. Jesus.
I'm gonna jump in with the science stats that John normally does.
Well, we are men of science.
We're men of science. So here's a science stat. The Antarctic walrus is a rather large dolphin. I mean, I don't know how that's a walrus, but there you go. that's my fact for today. We need a little jingle for that.
Well, I'm the Indian walrus, which I assume exists.
Of course. That's you.
Yes.
I'm not sure there is an Indian walrus per se, you know.
Is there an Indian walrus, Ryan?
Let me find. Well, there is the ginger walrus, which lives in the Indianapolis Zoo.
What?
Does that count?
No, that's you.
Oh. I'm actually looking at a picture of walrus. They look quite ginger. Kind of orangey.
Anyway, I think that's what it, if anyone wants to know what it really looks like to see me lie in a ambient bath, just imagine that, really. It's fairly simple.
Ambient bath.
Oh, wait. I found an Indian walrus. There's a popular publication in India called The Walrus.
Wow.
Wow. And what does the aforementioned popular publication do? Or
it looks like it's
produce?
political. No, health and politics. Those two combined.
Wow,
So,
that's a winning combo. That is health and politics.
yeah.
I'm not sure how we got to this point in our podcast, but anyway.
Yeah. I think it's because we left you in charge of the banter.
That's so untrue. I'd started with the limerick and I thought that was good enough. And then Ryan complimented me on my lovely accounting excellence outfit, which
I'm not sure he was complimenting you on the outfit. He was
what?
complimenting you on the things that he noticed in the absence of the outfit.
There was nothing in the absence of the outfit, John. It was a great suit. What's wrong with
I
it?
don't remember sequins.
There were no
Should have had sequins. That's what I mean. Wasn't any sequins. They were in absence.
Well,
Feather boa,
sorry. I was going with
Constrictor.
gloves.
our interpretation
Chains.
of what a bold demeanor means is obviously very different. That's what we were highlighting, is that my
Oh, yes.
bold demeanor was my velvet green suit, and Ryan's bold demeanor is go faster stripes carved into the side of his remaining hair. That's it.
Yeah.
As long as we do go faster stripes on the side and not one down the middle.
No, I've got just a line of hair. It's the opposite. It's the opposite.
You've
of
got a
the
seam.
parted in. I've got a seam that runs all the way down the middle. At the bottom, I've got a tattoo of a zip.
Is it
the side.
a YKK zip, given that they make something like 99.99% of all zips in the world?
India stopped recording.
Oh, there you go. It was that bombshell. It was that zip bombshell that did it. She's just like been fried.
The Digital Accountancy Show was nominated tonight as one of the Digital Marketing of the Year. And that was because from the judges' feedback, everyone said this is like a really great example of marketing. It's not just one level of being able to go there on the day and network, but all of the work that you do in the run-up, all of the work that you do post the show, the way that you engage, the way you present content, you must be so proud of what you built as an asset. And you must, in terms of where you go from here, what are your thoughts? Where do you think that, how do you raise the bar again?
Yeah, well, first of all, we have an amazing community. We have amazing accounting, bookkeeping, finance community who have supported us from day one. We have an amazing exhibitor community who again have supported us. Some of the guys have supported us from day one as well. We really have people who are really buying into what we're doing. And ultimately what we're doing is helping the profession move from a very compliance way of working into a more collaborative way of working. And we're just trying to play a supporting role in that evolution that's happening and trying to become a meeting platform and a meeting place for amazing companies and amazing accountants and bookkeeping firms to get together and to do business with one another and drive the profession forwards. And in terms of kind of growth, super proud of where we've come in the last few years, especially with COVID right at the start, as John mentioned. And, and I feel like we're just getting started to some extent. We feel like we're only scratching the surface with the opportunity and with the mission that we've got, which is to help drive the profession forward. So we're just getting started.
And I think because you've had so many challenges since you started, you had COVID to begin with, you've had your own personal growth challenges, and then in and amongst it that we all have, but you really have. Like, I mean, you're here. Am I allowed to say?
Straight out of the hospital.
Yeah, straight out of the hospital. Am I allowed to say straight out of the hospital? Straight out of the hospital, joining us here, and I just think that it's such an honour. But like, you just continue to be an example of someone that goes, okay, yeah, the bar is just here, but we're going to set it up here, and maybe we don't make it all the way up here, but my God, we're going to try. And so maybe we make it just shy of that. Do you learn with your team to celebrate that success as well, like every year? Do you take that and do you soak it up enough, Dan?
We should probably do more of it. We should probably celebrate more where we've come from. We're always trying to look for the next thing, and I'm always someone in all my previous jobs. How do I do things that have never been done before? How do we continue to raise a bar and blah, blah, all that sort of stuff? But maybe we should celebrate it a bit more as a team in terms of, like, you know, coming back from COVID and coming back from the thing that I've just had done. You know, I always try and look at the glass half full rather than half empty and look at the positives in life. You know, I generally feel really thankful that I've had this operation now and not when I'm, you know, later on down the line. So everything happens for a reason, and we'll carry on pushing the show forward, keep pushing the boundaries. We're already working on 2026. So watch this space.
You are one of our greatest influencers in the space, digital space. You definitely are, Dan, from the moment that you and I have met. I still feel that we need to go to one of those event awards things again and me bid far too much on the silent auction and maybe throw some tables over, you know?
Yeah, the events awards.
So we're going to do that at some point. Yeah. But either which way, I'm really grateful, thankful everyone is here because they've spoken so much about your event, and we're really looking forward to seeing the 2026 version. So, yeah, thanks, Dan.
Love you.
So we're lucky enough to have Johann Goree from Engager.app on the aftermath is the wrong word for this, but basically post winning the Release of the Year award at the Digital Disruptor Awards. And Johann, look, I guess the first question I've got for you, mate, is what does it feel like winning the award?
So we weren't able to attend the awards because we were briefing our team, getting ready for our first exhibition. But we were sat in Brewdog briefing our team over burgers and a pint, and we had the laptop open to one side and we were watching the live stream in there. And yeah, when we were announced as the winner, there was a cheer and a lot of people looking over at us. You know, it's great to win the award. I think, as I referenced in the debrief in the live debrief we did, winning the award's great, and that's fantastic to have a trophy, and our first ever trophy sat on our cool trophy cabinet. Not that we've got one yet, but apparently Andy said something about borrowing Everton's trophy cabinet. Apparently they're not using it.
It's not Spurs.
So it's fantastic to win. However, the fact that we were nominated for a number of categories by our users that's the real acknowledgement here, that our community's taken the time out of their day to say these guys deserve nominating, because they're all busy people. They've got better things to do than fill out forms on our behalf. So that's the real exciting part, shall we say, that our users have gone, I'm going to spend some time and almost thank them for what they're doing by putting them forwards for this.
Yeah, and I guess, first award, probably first of many, to be fair, and I know you're still like new, as a product. Yeah, exactly. But I think that, not only is it nomination, but it's recognition for the effort and the work you put in. And for anyone that's listening, the main reason that Engager.app got this was, although it's called Release of the Year, it was not one specific release, but the way the team consistently make releases, and also the education that goes around that. And I know that's something that, as a judging group that I witnessed as they were debating, they said felt very unique in the marketplace. And is that something that I guess you've really focused on as a team?
It's hard to say whether we focused on it or if it's structured and planned. It's all, as far as I'm concerned, it comes as common sense. As a user of softwares myself, this is what I would want to feel informed by. So our users give us constant feedback, whether that's through our Facebook group, emails, raising tickets, etc. Like, we released a new import tool last week, and we've been getting the same question 3 or 4 times a day ever since. So there's a new UI release going out tomorrow night to counter that. So they're constantly feeding back to us in one way or another. And we're just very proactive, and we listen and we action it straight away as best we can. And then I then explain that. And whether I do a video or I do a video and our weekly live sessions that we already do, ultimately it's content. Like, we've committed to do a weekly live session to our users where they can ask us questions. How do we do this? How do we do that? Stuck on this, stuck on that. And that's for an hour. Well, it makes sense that I cover all the latest updates and show them how that works. And then we can snip that out and put it out as videos for help guides and stuff like that. So it's evergreen content. It's great. So it's an efficient way of doing it, I suppose, rather than filming a video, doing screenshots, etc., etc. Like, there's lots we could be doing, but if we do it this way, it's more efficient. And I'm a huge fan of efficiency and effective ways of working.
I think that's really beautiful, right? That something that you, I guess, have created has been born out of actually just trying to be more effective and make the biggest use of your time. So it's just kind of organically fell out into something that's, I guess, been beautifully recognized by your users, and ultimately ended in you and the team getting an award for it. So I think that's beautiful. But something I guess I'd like to ask you is that who do you feel that in this space, maybe if it wasn't you, if you didn't exist, or maybe not just one person or one app, but who do you think possibly could have got release of the year instead?
I think that we are at a very exciting time in the accounting and bookkeeping industry tech space at the moment, where we've got a few disruptors in softwares that are proving a few points in the form of, you don't have to have millions of pounds of venture capital investment. You don't have to have a huge team. You just need to know what your product is, have a focus on your customer, and deliver what you promise. So people like Zama, Xenon, Connect, like, there's lots of startups out there that are breaking the mold as what we know of it. Like, even Go Proposal, before they got acquired by Sage, they were basically bootstrapped. It wasn't capital investment and stuff. It was done organically. And there's a lot more of those businesses out there, whereas I think a lot of accountants and bookkeepers look at softwares and go, oh, well, they'll have millions of pounds of backing and stuff like that. Whereas you don't need that. And that doesn't always lead to the best decisions. And I'm still watching newer softwares making the same mistakes we've seen other softwares make, where they're sponsoring everything, and I'm going to pay for that drinks party and pay for that drinks party. And actually, where are you getting your return on investment here? Is that the best way to spend your users' money? But actually, it's capital venture, so you don't care. But so our only investment is our users' subscriptions. So we feel very responsible about investing that wisely. And yeah, people like Zama and Xenon are out there doing exactly the same thing. Client Window doing some exciting things with WhatsApp and working on that technology. Yeah, I think the most exciting part, though, is that accountants and bookkeepers are seeing those small startup companies. They're seeing the difference between them and the big boys and going, they're actually doing something exciting. So yeah, any of those kind of startups deserve recognition for what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I think any that a lot of those bootstrap companies as well, you're trying to redefine, I guess, how a sector I guess, been serviced. If we take Go Proposal, right? They were educating about pricing and how to elevate your pricing. And so there's some of these that just, they kind of think outside the box and they try and educate as well as provide tech to support that. And I think that's really interesting. We've got a few in the advisory space that I am keeping an eye on, because I've always been wary of those in the advisory space, but their approaches are a bit different. I'm not talking about them now, but I'm keen to see if they do make it work. But for one point, and I was going to ask, is it just those that start with an X that are really good software? But obviously,
there's a really blue one that I'm not a big fan of.
Oh yeah. I wondered if you'd go down that route.
There's lots of great bootstrapped softwares out there, and there's more coming. Like, I'm part of a community that I know what some of those members that are coming, like, they're accountants and bookkeepers, and they've come up with solutions, and they're getting those solutions built. And I'm privileged to see that early stage of them doing things, and them asking me my experiences and sharing experiences and stuff. And yeah, we don't just have to look at anymore at the big boys and hope that they're going to give us something exciting, because actually the space is getting very exciting with just the smaller boys playing in.
Yeah. And it's a different beast, right? When you're smaller, you're more nimble. You can kind of do things a bit differently. And when you get bigger, it's a bit more complex. You've probably got some older software, and most software does go through that journey. You start nimble and you become bigger, and then it's hard to do things. And I think there's some that were bigger this year that had, some great releases. Dex is one of those, had a bit of a mixed year, right? Managed to annoy its community, but then release some great stuff at the same time. And I think it's finding that balance. So what do you think would be, who do you think's to look out for maybe release of next year? I know we had those that were, coming up that we thought, interesting tech, but who do you think, and it's really hard to predict, but who do you think might do a really good release in 24, 25?
I think a lot of it's down to actually cutting through the hype and working out actually what value is this bringing. So, like, everyone's hyped about AI. I've yet to see any AI. Actually, I take that back. I have seen one bit of AI in practice management that makes me go, actually, that adds value. So that's...
Was it in your system?
No, Carbon. So Carbon have just released a new AI summary thing that summarizes your client's like recent history of communications and stuff. So if I'm the practice manager, I'm looking at a client, I just want kind of an overview of what's been going on with this client recently. It does that, and I think that adds genuine value. I think rehashing what's already available in other systems, like summarizing emails, well, I can do that in Outlook. I can do that in Gmail. I can do that in Apple Mail. Like suggesting responses and changing my tone, well, I can use Apple Intelligence, Gmail, Samsung AI, whatever for that. Why are we rehashing what's already available? We need to make sure whatever AI is delivering, it's actually delivering insight. And like a lot of the finance management solutions AIs are actually, all they're doing is spitting out a graph. Well, yeah, we technically have that already, whether it's SIF Analytics, Futurely, whatever it is, or whether it's a built-in report. Is it really AI? I don't know. So I think it's important that we keep cutting through the hype and see the actual benefits. I've not seen what anyone's got on their roadmaps. Obviously, I know what Engager's got on their roadmaps, and I'd like
You'd hope you would.
Yeah, I'd like to think we've got some really exciting things coming next year that would put us in contention for that award again. But again, who knows what, QuickBooks, Xero, Sage, all they have to do is deliver one incredible thing that no bootstrap company could ever consider trying to develop and deploy because they haven't got the resources, and they've run away with it. I would argue FreeAgent's recent release of bank authorizations in bulk, that is in the FMS sector, that's got to be release of the year, right?
Yeah,
reauthorize all my clients in one click.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those ones where it's like a lot of people think, it's tiny, but actually the impact it has, it can be a very small change, but have a huge impact.
And it's an impact that I realize every time when I log into QuickBooks or Xero and have to go through each client to work out who needs their bank re-authenticating.
Yeah, exactly. One, I guess, that I'm interested in, and I guess you probably know a bit about, is what Intuit are trying to do with AI over in the US regarding compliance, especially on the personal tax side.
Yeah.
And if they can make that work and it comes over to the UK, I think that would be hands down like a release of the year.
I've been quite Intuit and QuickBooks and myself have been quite distanced since before the summer. We've got our own plans for practice management. They've got their own product. We've kind of shook hands and said we need to become more independent of each other. Me as a personal brand from them,
of course.
So look, I only know now what the layman knows in regards to that, and any gossip I can get off Aaron Patrick, like that's the limit of my knowledge. But what I do know is this time last year, Intuit promised us Intuit Assist by autumn 24. I've not seen it.
No.
Jack's was promised by Xero earlier this year, by August this year. Sage made promises and have rolled out upgrades and stuff. There's a lot of theoretically exciting things coming, but until they actually start delivering it, then I'll get more excited.
We're in that hype phase, as you said, and we've got to wait for the actual tech to build up with the hype or catch up with the hype. So we'll see if it's next year, maybe beyond. But what I'd like to finish on is a question about the awards themselves. We've tried to create something unique, something that adds value. Do you feel that we have achieved that with creating the Digital Disruptor Awards?
So something Aaron and I have said several times is that there should be an award in some, like we've all got these, we've got the Yorkshire Awards, we've got Accounting Excellence Awards, we've got the Luca Awards, we've got all these different awards. Some from governing bodies just focus on their members. Fine. I like the fact that the ICB look at softwares because that's what supports their members to grow their business, and I think that's right. Accounting Excellence Awards has gone away from awarding softwares, and I get it. There's a collision of ethics and morals. If those softwares are paying for tables and stuff, is there a corruption issue there? I get it. But what we don't recognise at the moment in any of those awards really is softwares, apart from the Lucas, which is only allowed ICB members to vote, and rightly so. It's their awards. So there's no public recognition of any award, any softwares. There's no public recognition of any social media, whether it's a YouTuber, a podcaster, etc. I think that they are the ones that are driving this industry forward with information and knowledge. Like how Accounting Web's podcast hasn't been awarded for news is beyond me. But then actually you look at it and there's not an award to give them. So should there be? Possibly. Look, there's lots and lots of awards out there. I think what you guys have done is actually unique in the form that it allows a public forum to vote on softwares as well as individuals and companies. And we all know an award looks good on the shelf. It creates a lot of social media content for us. So thank you very much for that. We were getting a bit dry on the content. So I think it's great what you've done. And I hope it'll be back next year, and hopefully you'll continue and build on the categories that are available from there.
Yeah, thanks very much. And thanks again, Johann, for coming on. It's always great speaking to you, and congratulations again for winning Release of the Year with Engager.app. Thank
you very much for having me, and thank you for delivering the awards.
Ryan dropped off. So seeing as he dropped off the last time, and it's now our outro, do you think we should ask anything of anyone that's listened to?
I think we should ask the audience, like, what we should ask them to challenge Lee to either change Ryan's appearance or his voice in the edit. I think that's what we should get them to do. Like, what would they like to see Lee do to Ryan?
Yeah, what would they like to see Lee do to Ryan? Would they like to change Ryan into some sort of Gandalf looking creature? Or do we want to see, the ginger walrus? That's a good one. The ginger walrus. Could we make Ryan look more like a ginger walrus? But anyway, that's going to be our secret challenge for anyone that's listening to the end of this episode. Just feel free to give us, John and I, some suggestions so that we can make it happen on the next pod.
Yeah, and we'll share them on the secret chat, which doesn't include Ryan, right? Just to really make him jealous.
There's lots of secret chats that don't include Ryan.
Well, there you go. Thank you for joining us as always. And of course, feedback, commentary, anything else you want. But bear in mind, of course, that what we want to know is what should we do to Ryan next.